Good evening, beautiful ladies. How are you doing this evening?
Great.
Good. How are
How are
you?
you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm glad we sorted the technical issues out. It's so nice to see such pretty faces on the screen. It's like, wow, back to reality.
Thank you.
Were you girls excited about today?
Super excited.
Yeah,
Really grateful to the South African Telugu community for having us and excited to speak to you, Keshni.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Myself, I have to say, this just gave me a chance to finally get rest after 64 days of being in lockdown in South Africa. So a big
Me
thank you to
too.
the South African Telugu community. I feel like
Guilty as
a
charged.
person again. But absolutely, Priya and Ayushi, it's absolutely fabulous having both you ladies today. Ayushi Chhabra, our star from Star Trek in the USA, and Priya Lutchman, our born South African girl from Deep End. It's so great to have you ladies on the show today. So I'm going to start off with some informal questions to get you ladies warm a little bit. And then we're going to move over to some questions from the viewers. So to all the viewers, lovely greetings from Ayushi and Priya and myself. We're going to get right to it. So we
Hi.
have some time at the end. I'm sure Priya wants to say hi too.
Hi, everyone.
Lovely. So Ayushi, you've been making headlines India, South Africa, and now the USA. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born in India, but I grew up a majority of my life in South Africa. So I carry both India and South Africa in my heart wherever I go. I moved to Los Angeles 5 years ago, and I've been working as an actress and a model here since then. But my journey started in South Africa, and I owe everything that I have right now in my life to South Africa.
Wow.
Wow.
I really feel good about that being a born South African. And Priya, over to you. Tell us about yourself and your journey thus far.
Born and bred South African. I, just a general basic mom, working a normal job and landed myself in a movie randomly at the ripe old age of 38. And subsequent to that, it's just taken off and it's been absolutely amazing since. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds very exciting. Ayushi, I'm going to move over to you, and I just want you to elaborate a little bit on your journey featuring in Star Trek. Obviously, it's been in our industry for quite a number of years, featured, and we have diehard South African Star Trek fans. So tell us about your role in Star Trek.
Sure. I play the role of a pregnant Romulan called Pell. She's the wife of Gabriel Wong, and I booked this in last year actually, but we only shot it towards the end of last year, and it was released on air this year. And it was one of the life-changing experiences in my life because it was a show that is, executive produced by Sir Patrick Stewart, and it was directed by Jonathan Frakes. So as an actor who's starting out in the industry, this was truly a breakthrough role for me. And I'm just so grateful that I got to play something that was just so extraordinary. I never thought in my life that I would be playing a role like that. To play an alien on American television was beyond my wildest thoughts.
Absolutely, absolutely. And tell me, is this going to be ongoing for Star Trek, or was it just a specific feature at that specific time?
For now, it is a recurring co-star. I just don't know if it is going to be in season 2. So I'm just, keeping my fingers crossed that I get another amazing opportunity to be on that show. So let's hope that we're able to see Pell's alien baby soon.
But either way, we're absolutely proud of you. Priya, now
Thank
obviously
you.
I watched Deep End. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Tell us about
Awesome.
your role in Deep End, and how did you feel relating to South African women?
So my role in Deep End was one of a mom, a very young mom with a grown daughter who is trying to break the boundaries and the stereotypes that are placed upon her as an Indian female and B, more specifically, a Gujarati female. And in South Africa, we do tend to have, we tend to be quite close-minded and expect a lot of our, not only our children, but more specifically the girls. And this movie was really nice because I get to play the mom who is supportive of a child who wants to do something different. I personally could relate to that because when I was young, I also wanted to do something different, and I was never the one to toe the line and to do what everybody expected. So it was really nice to be able to play somebody who could support that because when as older generations are, they tend to want you to stick to what is good and what you know and your academics and don't follow your dreams.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it was a very, very exciting role for me to play.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of parents and even teens could actually relate to the fact that, in this day and age, you're obviously free in terms of what you want to pursue as a career or whatever choices you do make. So I think, it's probably going to be with us for the next few years. And I think that was a brilliant way to, overcome some of those barriers. And once again, well done on Deep
Thank
End.
you.
Ayushi, so tell us a little bit now about the journey from India. What made you come to South Africa, and eventually, how did you end up in the USA?
So my dad made us move from India to South Africa. So he's to blame here. But my dad works as a textile engineer and he had a beautiful opportunity to work in South Africa. So he had to take it up to further his career. And I'm so glad that we moved. We, had that, that we got to explore a whole new world as kids. Thanks to my dad, we've been able to travel a lot growing up, me and my brother. And so that's how we moved to South Africa. And I went to a school in Bedfordview, and that's where I grew up. And then I went to Rhodes University and studied broadcast journalism because getting an education was so important to me before I, take off into the acting world. So just having a backup plan was just so important to me. So yeah, once I graduated from Rhodes University, I then decided to go to New York Film Academy to study acting. And that was the beginning of everything.
Well, I think actually we have to thank your dad for making that move. I think it obviously played
Yes.
a major part in your career and your growth. So, I think hats off to him for, taking such a big, opportunity, and then you benefited at the end of the day. So, thanks to your dad.
Absolutely. And I'm
Priya,
sure he's watching right now. So
that's beautiful. So, Priya, you also have some hidden
Yes.
talents. So we know that you an actor. We've seen you on Deep End, but you're also a
Hmm.
professional dancer, and you've done some amazing recent castings. And you're also a mum, you're a wife,
I
you're a
am.
career woman.
Hmm.
How do you balance and juggle all of that in this day and age?
I don't sleep very much. But in all in all seriousness, I think you get some people who thrive on being a housewife or thrive on being an academic or thrive on being whatever it is. For me, I thrive on learning new things. And the only way for me to learn new things is to jump with both feet into whatever comes my way. And through that, I have, studied, I have traveled, I have tried things that are completely out of my comfort zone, like acting, even though it's something I've always wanted to do. I'm terribly camera shy. But when the opportunity presented itself, I jumped in with both feet and learned something new and discovered I'm actually really good at it. So it's the same with everything. A lot of people do ask me where I find the energy, and the energy comes from the fact that I am learning new things, and therefore I have the energy to keep learning new things, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. And in second to that, do you find that your family supports you and like even extended family, like where you would need to, train for longer hours? I do know what the industry is like. You sometimes, train for 12 hours, and it does become quite strenuous. Do you find that
Mhm.
you get support to pursue all of this?
I absolutely do. I have a marvelous husband who takes over whenever I'm not here. He sees to the kids and he does school runs and dinner and whatever needs to be done while I'm out and about and training and rehearsals and all of those kinds of things. For Deep End, I was in Durban for majority of the time, which is obviously away from home. I live in Johannesburg, and those times that I was away, he just, he picked up the ball and he ran with it. And my mom lives with me as well, and she's extremely supportive. She helps with the kids. I don't think I could have done it without either one of them. And my extended family is brilliant. They support me every single step of the way. They're there at the premieres. They're there, sending me screenshots of me when I'm on TV. They're amazing. They really are.
I'm sure that's extremely motivational as well for you to continue doing what you do best. So
Absolutely.
Ayushi, obviously you're not at that stage where you have kids, but I'm sure that you have your mum that supports this journey. How does your parents play a part in all of this? And do you have any siblings as well?
I do have a sibling. He is 2 years younger than me, and my family, my mom and my dad and my brother have been my greatest support system. I don't have them physically in front of me right now. I am all the way in LA by myself. So they play a huge role in keeping me sane. This industry is very up and down. So you might be very successful one day and then, not have work for 2 years straight. So, it's like an emotional roller coaster. So you really need people around you to keep you sane and grounded. And it also helps knowing that no matter what happens career wise, I have such a strong support system and that is my stability. So they help me, they keep me going every single day. And they're the reason why I'm always motivated to do what I want. But no matter what happens, I can always go home to them. Well, not actually go home to them, but the fact that I can always call them up and I can always vent to them about everything, cry if I need to, and they're always there. So I appreciate them very much.
Absolutely. And Ayushi, in saying that, obviously having family support is quite critical in this industry specifically because of its peaks. Now, obviously, you being in a different country, firstly, have you adapted to the lifestyle in the USA? And secondly, do you find that you actually get support from the industry itself? Because sometimes I know that can be very damaging if you don't get others that actually support your career growth and support you on this journey.
I have been very fortunate to have a very great support system here in the industry. My manager is like my mom. Um, they are all family to me. Even the people that are, my contemporaries, so to speak, are also really good friends of mine. And I love that we're always supporting each other, helping each other out with auditions. Should we ever need to confide in each other, we have that, support from each other. So I think that so far it's been very positive for me. So I am very, very grateful for that.
Thank you. Priya, I'm actually going to hop onto the same question because me, myself,
Sure.
being in a similar industry for the last few years, obviously has its challenges in South Africa with specific communities and obviously one wanting to climb the ropes. What challenges have you faced, both as a dancer and an actress? And was it actually tough to get into this industry?
So, as a general, the entertainment industry, and I speak for South Africa, I don't know what it's like elsewhere, but the entertainment industry in South Africa is very, very underappreciated. You're kind of just, you're seen as entertainment, but you're not appreciated for the art that you're actually bringing. You're not appreciated for the amount of rehearsals that go into it, the amount of time, the emotion that goes into what you're doing. And that's one of the biggest challenges I face. I find that, whether it's you're doing a live stage performance or whether you're doing, at one point I used to do gigs for weddings when I used to dance. People kind of expect you to do everything they're asking. They want an entire Bollywood performance without actually paying what is required, and they don't understand what you're bringing into it. So one of the biggest challenges I faced, and I find that I'm trying to educate people about, is to understand why you A, pay for what you're paying for whatever we're doing, and B, what it is that actually goes into it. So don't just go there and expect to
Yeah.
see somebody dancing or somebody just performing. Understand that their whole
Absolutely.
heart, soul, emotion, everything has gone into it. And that's a really, really big challenge. As for the second part of the
Or
question, how I got into acting. Again, it's not an easy industry, especially I hate to stereotype, but especially for Indians and Indian females, it's not really that easy, especially in South Africa. It is a lot better than when I was in my 20s, I can say that. Um, but I was very lucky to literally land myself in the role for Deep End. It was a call from my choreographer who said the director needed somebody to audition, and my choreographer is very what's the word? Very, very forceful. She was kind of like, pick up the phone and you will call the director and you will audition. And I'm like, audition for what? And she's like, you don't worry about what it is, you just call in. So I did, and I said to my husband, what's the worst that could happen? And bam, I landed the role. So yeah, it was literally by
hey,
divine intervention.
Absolutely, and
Thanks,
that's
that's
amazing.
absolutely
Ayushi.
wonderful. And Priya, it's so relevant if you look at the storyline with Deep End and the community that we come from, and as much as we don't want to stereotype, obviously, I would think in terms of lack of support, at some point it does affect the industry. Exactly what you're saying. No
Absolutely.
one understands the time and effort that goes into training and rehearsing. And,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, they want a freebie. But I think had it been born from a very young age where people understand, it's actually an industry on its own that needs to be supported by specific communities. And obviously
Absolutely.
now with those challenges, we obviously hit the COVID pandemic. We've been on lockdown for
Yes.
64 days.
Yes.
We're not interacting with anybody. There's no training. We're not
Hmm.
expected to have any socials in the next few months up until level one. How has
Hmm.
this actually impacted the industry?
Well, I firstly find it very interesting that, in this specific time when everybody's on lockdown, they're all turning to Netflix, or watching all the movies that they want to watch, or catching up on live music shows that they didn't get a chance to see, etc. And those are all arts. And it's quite interesting that, as unappreciated as it is, it's the first thing that people are turning to, which I find actually quite ironic at the end of the day. It has had a massive impact, obviously, on our industry. We can't go out to do any shoots. We can't. We're doing self tapes for auditions because we can't go in for auditions. A lot of my friends in the entertainment industry, in terms of dance and theater, um, sitting unable to work. Thank God for Zoom and all of this technology that we have today. You can still connect that way, but it has had a massive impact. I mean, we've had to cancel our show for June. We had a theater production coming up, which has had to be
Disappointing,
postponed.
I'm
I'm not
sure.
going to use the word
Yeah,
cancelled. Very, very disappointing, especially since all of the hard work that's gone into it. It's kind of now just, what do we do?
absolutely, absolutely. Ayushi,
Yeah.
on your side as well, obviously this is a global crisis and you being in the same industry, how has this actually impacted you? Did you even have plans for this time?
Yeah, actually, productions, like Priya said, productions have been stopped. So there's a lot of work that is, there are lots of unemployed actors right now and industry professionals. So it is a very tough time. Also, I did a feature film for Telugu cinema, actually, that was supposed to release in the United States and in India at the end of this year. And now we just don't know if that's going to be happening anymore. So, and I haven't worked as an actress in the past 3 months. So I don't actually know what to
Wow,
do. I have also been doing
sure.
my auditions through self tapes, and there is very limited opportunity because if you do book something, they might send you the camera to your house and direct you over Zoom. But again, you need to have, a place where you can shoot, and not everyone has those kind of resources. So it is a tough time for our industry, but I also am hopeful and optimistic that as soon as things are back to normal, there will be so much work for everyone. So I think that the best we can do right now is to make the best of this opportunity that we have to, become better at what we do. And once it's back to normal, we just need to be go, go, go and get
Yeah.
all those jobs that we couldn't get before. So
Definitely.
that's my
And now
take on
that you're on
that.
lockdown, I have to say you're looking very good on camera. So what have you been doing to look this good?
Me? Oh, I put makeup on after a very long time. For the first time, I put makeup on. So maybe it's that, but I think mainly I've just been cooking at home, which is something I never used to do because I was always busy, like going from one audition to another, trying to balance it off with work. So this is the first time in my life that I've actually made breakfast, lunch, dinner at home. And it's just, I think those little things like taking care of
Cooking
yourself has
skills.
really, helped me. Yeah, I know I'm ready to be a wife. So
Okay. Leave that to Priya and I. We will get that department sorted out for you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But Priya, I have to say you're looking just as good. I can see that you've
Oh, thank
not
you.
gained any weight. I think that's just been the biggest concern with every woman. In lockdown, we're cooking and
You
spoiling
haven't seen my
ourselves and
bottom half.
baking. We'll leave that for another day. But what have you been doing with all this time on hand? Obviously, you have kids, so the scenario with you is obviously a little bit different. You're
Yeah.
probably balancing between kids and hubby and your own personal activities. So, what's been
Absolutely.
on your top list in the last 64 days?
So, of course, as you know, we're staying at home and we're all homeschooling our kids. So that's been takes a major part of our day. And I seem to be cooking a heck of a lot more, and cleaning and all of the other things that most people are going through at the moment. And of course, I'm not doing any acting per se at this point. And my other industry, which is the beauty industry, is also closed. So I've had to close my salon. So I've basically been baking and cooking and trying to feed everybody who I come across, from my family to my security to the neighbors, with everything that I've been doing.
Wow,
Basically, that's it. Yeah.
wow. And I'm sure this is going to help some parents. Have you been coping with homeschooling? And what are your choices to send your kids back? South African schools are opening now and
hmm
interfacing in the next 2 months. What are
hmm
your plans and thoughts, and how are you coping with homeschooling at this stage?
So I've been very blessed because my kids are quite independent. So I'm terrible in the mornings. I'm not really good at getting out of bed super early. They're out of bed at like 6:30 and I can't do that. So they've been really good. They come downstairs, they make their breakfast and they start with their schoolwork. So I've been very, very blessed in that I haven't really had to sit down and be with them every single step of the way, but it can be challenging. I've spoken to loads of friends whose kids aren't as independent or who do need that extra help. And it is very challenging, especially for those who are still working. There's a lot of corporate jobs that are still carrying on, even if it is at home. Um, I would say that for most people, it's just a question of trying to find that balance between giving your kid just that 1 hour in the morning to help them bang out all of their schoolwork and then getting back to your work. Again, I've been very blessed. They usually get through it, most of it, by the time I come downstairs, and I just have a quick squiz to make sure everything's, up to scratch, and then we send it through. With regards to sending my kids to school, my husband and I did have lengthy discussions about it, and we've actually chosen not to, simply because, I know my kids are smart, and most kids of their age are, and understand the consequences of, why you shouldn't be touching, and, all of, why you need to be sanitizing and what's the requirement for the masks, etc. And the school has been amazing. They've already got all of their protocols in place. However, my mom lives with me, as I mentioned, and she's quite old. She's almost in her 80s, and my husband has a heart condition. So we really don't want to take any
Wow,
chances that the kids, if
absolutely.
kids can be, if they're asymptomatic and they come home, you really don't know.
Yeah.
So we've decided to err on the side of caution.
Yeah, look, there's lots of questions and debates about how this is actually going to play out moving forward, but I think, that's the
hmm
safest option, to keep them at home until you're comfortable enough that, it is a safe zone and safe environment, especially when you're dealing with
Absolutely.
others in your household that is actually ill, you don't want any risks and regrets at the end
Exactly.
of it all. Yeah.
And the thing is, I mean, look, they're still really young, so I'm
Yeah.
confident that, if they miss a bit of school, they're not gonna miss out on their
Nothing's going
Nobel
to
Prize
happen.
in the future,
Yeah.
they're gonna be okay.
But sounds like you're on top of things anyway, so well done on that.
Thank you.
Ayushi, are you homeschooling anyone that we need to know about?
no. Only
I'm just
homeschooling
checking.
myself.
I'm just checking. I'm just checking.
I'm
So I
only
have to,
homeschooling myself, and yes,
which is a good thing, right? Which is a good thing. It's time to educate and to do refresher courses and just to upskill oneself.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Um, so how many languages do you speak? I have to ask because you mentioned a film in the Telugu industry.
Yes.
What languages do you speak? Let's get to that first.
I only speak English and Hindi, but I do know Punjabi. I understand it. And with Telugu, I had to learn all of my dialogue in Telugu. So actually, Lakshman sir was one of the people that, helped me with it. When I got the script, everything was in Telugu. So he helped me translate it. He helped
Wow.
me say the
Wow.
dialogues in the right accent. So I have to give him a big shout out and say thank you so much because without you, I
Yes.
wouldn't be able to say any of those dialogues. And he even recorded all the
Yay,
dialogues
Lakshman.
for me to practice. Yeah. So I have to thank
That's
again the South
amazing.
African Telugu community. So for being there for me when I needed so much help, and I really hope that it's out soon so everyone can see it.
We can't wait to watch it as well. Now, Ayushi, let's get back to your time in South Africa. So we had via the
Yes,
grapevine that you also played a big part with Miss India South Africa. Tell us about your journey with Miss India Gauteng and Miss India South Africa.
Miss India Gauteng was the very first pageant I had done in South Africa, and it gave me the platform to explore my talents. And I specifically remember the talent round that I had to do, and that was the first time I had performed on stage. Was amazing. I think that was in that moment that I realized that I really want to take this seriously and become an actor and a performing artist. I did a Punjabi dance, and it was
Wow.
Bhangra and Gitta. And it was something new, like I don't think the community had seen that before. So I got such a great response for it. And I think that when, something that you do is received so well, it just gives you so much fuel to keep doing it more. And once I won that pageant, then I made it over to Miss India South Africa. And that again was such a great platform for me to learn so much, in terms of how to answer questions or how to present yourself on stage, how to walk, how to talk. I didn't even know any of that, and like, I think going into acting, it's a very well-rounded craft where you're not just doing, something of a talent. Like, you're not just acting or you're not just dancing, but you're also speaking to people. You're also doing interviews. And I think many times you don't get that kind of training unless you go through something or a finishing school or something like that, or unless you are in like, a stage performer or do public speaking. So it helped me in all those aspects and almost as if like groomed me for what was coming ahead. And there are many times in my life when I look back and I think about how much confidence I gained doing that pageant. So
Mhm.
Well done in that as well. And Ayushi, in my last or previous lifetime, I also, come from a pageant background, and it can be quite challenging, especially for Indian females, and not just in South Africa, across the globe. What challenges have you faced in the pageant industry? And what advice can you give other youngsters or other individuals that want to pursue either pageant or get into modeling?
I think one of the biggest challenges that I faced in the pageant industry or acting or modeling is that I put too much pressure on myself. And I think that all of this is meant to be enjoyed. It's meant, you're supposed to love what you're doing and not make it a competition or not put so much pressure on yourself to win anything. That's not the point of it. The point of all of this is to do what you love and take great pleasure in doing that. And that's something when I look back at my 18, 19-year-old, I just want to tell that young girl to chill out. It's not life or death. It's just a
Yeah.
it's an opportunity for me to do what I love, whether it's dancing on stage or whether it's making new friends or being able to explore different skills and abilities. It's not so much to put pressure on me. It's not life or death. The other thing is, for anyone who is trying to pursue acting or modeling as a profession, once you do finish your education, I think it's very important to take it seriously, just like as a doctor would take their degree seriously. You have to take your craft very seriously too, without putting pressure on yourself, of course. Still take it, practice it every single day, and but dedicate time and effort to it, because Otherwise, it's just going to be a hobby. It's never going to be something that you actually make a career out of, because you just really have to dedicate so much time and energy and like effort into this industry. And rehearsals
Absolutely,
are so
absolutely.
important. You know, you have to self-motivate
Hard
yourself.
work,
So all
very
of
hard
those,
work.
it's a lot of hard work. Yeah. And if
Yeah.
you're trying to be a star, then I think just like give up right now, because that's not the point. Again, the point is to be a working actor, to be a working model.
Definitely.
So if you just want the fame and the money, then this is not the field for you. That comes as a result of
Definitely.
putting in a lot of hard work.
Yeah. And Ayushi, from the way you're speaking, I can hear the passion in your voice. I can see how enthusiastic you are and how motivated, and you're still extremely young and beautiful. Is pageantry something you would consider getting back into at some point in your near life, or are you going to focus on acting only? Have you thought about that?
No, I've retired from the pageant world, but I I consider myself a working actor now, and that's the only thing I wish to do. And I'm so glad that I had pageants as part of my journey, you know, to getting here.
Mm-hmm.
But that I did pageants as part of my journey to getting here. But I don't think I'm going to be returning to them. I do think that anyone who wants to do it, it's a great way to learn more about yourself and to explore your talents. But I wouldn't be returning to it anytime soon.
Okay, well, we're going to keep an eye and ear out on that. And I think at some point you have to give us some of those dance moves. Priya is an expert, but I'm sure she would want to learn something different and something new.
Absolutely.
Priya, obviously now with the challenges and obviously you confirming that, you know, you're considering keeping your kids at home from a safety perspective and homeschooling, and obviously with the industry being hit quite badly, what are your future plans? Obviously, I'm not sure if you want to return back to, you know, starting a beauty business again, or you're going to get back into dancing. Have you thought about that at this time?
So, with regards to the beauty business, my clientele is such that they will murder me if I retire. They've already said
And you're
that to me
too
multiple
young
times.
anyway. You're too young to
I'm not
retire.
that young, but thank you. I mean, when I went to maternity leave for both my kids, I think my clients were ready to come banging on my door and expect me to be back. So when lockdown is over, I will probably go back to that. But that is more of a industry to keep me out of trouble and to keep me going when there is no acting going on. Because unfortunately, with like Ayushi said, that the industry can be quite erratic. So you could be completely successful now and then not work for 2 years. So you kind of just have to have something on the back burner all the time. Um, the other thing that I have been doing, which randomly has taken off better than I expected, is I am gluten intolerant, so I cook and bake accordingly.
Wow.
And I've had friends, family, and now clients asking to buy my items. So I think I might actually develop yet another
There's
business
a
because I
career
already have
path.
three
Exactly.
or four
Perfect.
exactly.
Yum.
But my fingers are crossed that I can get back into the acting, dancing, entertainment industry because that is my honestly my very first passion. It really is.
Wow. And tell me, do your kids imitate you? Do they want to do what mommy does?
Um, they do in a sense. Look, I won't lie, they're not really into Bollywood, etc. But they've been very supportive of
Okay.
all the shows that I've done. My son is a little bit young, so at first he couldn't quite understand what it meant for me to be in deep end playing a role, and he's like, but that's not your name, kind of thing. For the
Yeah.
most part,
Okay. Cute.
they imitate me in that they yeah, they dance, they sing. They're actually very musically talented, both of them, which is fantastic.
Okay.
They My daughter does ballet, and my son does his little jigs as well. My daughter's an extremely talented writer. She's been writing books since she was 4 and illustrating them.
Wow.
So whilst they don't imitate me in that, in terms of acting or singing or dancing, although my daughter does sing as well, they are very, very talented. So I suspect that they will go into the arts somewhere along the way. Yeah,
But at this stage, they sound like the typical modern Johannesburg children that's not into
absolutely.
Bollywood, and I'm not sure if culture is instilled,
Absolutely.
but you know,
Yes.
I'm sure it comes with its own challenges. But as a
Yeah,
mom and your journey, I'm sure you will continually support them. So well, I
absolutely.
think you're doing a good job, and That's amazing. But I'm sure we'll catch up
Thank
in the
you.
near future and we can check if anyone's a mini Priya or I'm not sure what they're planning to pursue, but I'm sure we'll get rid of that in the upcoming years.
Absolutely.
Ayushi, so tell me who's your role model, either from India, South Africa, or the USA? Do you have someone specific that you look up to and that you learn from?
I think that mainly I look up to my parents. I look up to the journey
Wow,
that my
amazing.
dad and my mom have had. And my parents were both immigrants in South Africa and also in Nigeria, another country that I grew up in. And I just look at how hard they have worked to create the life that my brother and I were able to live, to be able to send us to college. And so they are always going to be my greatest inspiration. Of course, there are many celebrities that I look up to, but you know, to have examples that live in your own household are going to be, the greatest examples. Like, to see them work so hard. My dad's had the same job for the past 15 years. He still wakes up at the same time. That consistency and discipline is something that I strive to achieve in my career all the time. So he's
Mhm.
my greatest role model. And so is my mother, who also, is has always been so encouraging and motivating, and like, no matter what difficulty she's faced as an immigrant woman in another country, she's still persevered. And as an immigrant myself in the United States, that's a huge example for me, and that's why I never give up and keep going.
I have to say, if that was a pageant answer, I would have scored you 10 out of 10 because that
Yay!
is like
Here's my
so close
crown.
to home. I'm going to send it over. I assure you, because
Yes.
if you look exactly, because if you look at how people idolize other individuals, I'm not saying it's bad, but in actual fact, people closest to you in your circle are actually your role models because ultimately you
That's what I
imitate
mean.
them
Yeah.
and their actions. And they
Yeah.
actually they're the motivators and they the ones that actually push you to stardom or support you.
Hmm.
So for me that would have been
Absolutely.
a 10 out of
Yeah.
10. So well done on
Hmm.
that. And Priya, do you have any role models? And don't change your answer based on the fact that I'm scoring her a 10 out of 10 because
No,
it's
no,
so
I
close
won't.
to
I won't
home and
change
not.
my answer. I promise. I promise. Look, I cannot compete with Ayushi. I mean, she's amazing all round. So I will just give my answer as I give it. But I have to agree with Ayushi. It's great to look up to celebrities and to popular people. But at the end of the day, it all begins at home, and I cannot agree more with that. I grew up. Unfortunately, my dad died when I was very young, but my uncles, my extended family stepped in, my aunts, my uncles, all of the elders stepped in to support my mom, to help us. My mom was left with three kids, to try and raise on her own. And just by that example, looking at family support, which is a huge thing for me, and specifically my uncles and aunts who taught me that if you dream it, you can achieve it, and B, it's all about hard work. You can't just expect it. Unfortunately, there's a lot in the generation now where it's instant gratification. But that understanding of you've got to work hard, you've got to persevere, you've got to be committed, you've got to do this, do it every day, and every day you get better, and the better you get, the more successful you are. So I think, yeah, definitely my role models would be my aunts, my uncles, my extended family, and definitely my mom. She was so strong to raise three kids on her own. She was quite young when my dad died, and that she's still going strong. I mean, at 77, she wakes up and
Wow.
she cooks and she helps with the kids and she does everything that needs to be done. And she just doesn't give up. She's been through cancer, she's been through so much, and she's still standing strong. And that is amazing for me. That is something I look up
Aww.
to. Yeah.
It
I love
is
that.
absolutely hats off to your mom, especially at that age, to have that type of energy. Extremely motivating. So, ladies,
Absolutely.
I'm going to move over in a few minutes to some questions from the viewers. But in the interim, I'm
Yes.
going to give Priya a chance to ask Ayushi a question.
Great. Do it, Priya.
Ayushi. Okay, so firstly, I want to congratulate you on all your successes. It is something to be
Thank
incredibly proud of.
you.
And I mean, I know I've only basically just met you, but I am extremely proud of you as a
Thank
young
you.
Indian, India and South African female. It's really, really a marvel to see. And I want to also commend you on staying grounded because I can tell that comes across. You've remained grounded, and
Thank
that's
you.
it's easy to lose your head. It's very easy to lose your head in this industry, especially if you've now gone to America and you've, in inverted commas, you've made it. It's easy to lose your head. So congratulations, and I commend you.
Thank
I
you.
want to know. I actually got two questions, but you can answer whichever you
Yes.
prefer. Firstly, what do you have the like one of the most ideal moments in this entire time that you've been acting and dancing and you're in America and I'm sure you hobnobbing with celebrities, etc. Is there something that really stands out for you as a really, really cool moment? And the other one is, what has been your biggest challenge thus far? So pick
I'm going to
one.
start with challenges because I think the good
Yeah.
times are sometimes rare in this industry. Thank you for all the things,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, that you said. I think you are very,
It's a
very smart.
pleasure.
I really look up to you. I admire you. The fact that you've been
Oh,
able to
thank you.
balance everything as a housewife, as a mom, and then an actor, performer, a businesswoman. I just think it's so admirable. And I see your
Thank you.
hustle and I respect it and I respect you.
Thanks.
Thank you for all the good things that you said about me. I think one of my greatest challenges has been that I've been to so many auditions, and I continue to go to so many auditions, and I consider myself as one of the most hardworking people that I know. And sometimes it's hard, like you get rejected a lot, and you just don't know what you're doing wrong. You tend to question yourself, you doubt your own abilities, and that of
Mm-hmm.
course motivates you to work harder. But after a while, you're like, how much harder can I work? Like, why is this not
Absolutely.
happening?
Exactly.
Is this not meant for me? There are many times where
Mm-hmm.
you just get lonely, you don't have the family support. I mean, like people not being there physically to be there for
Yeah.
you to see those dark moments. So this is a very tough journey. And I think the
Mm-hmm.
rejection has many times taken a toll on me. But I think that then you book something like a Star Trek,
Mm-hmm.
and all of those moments become so worth it. All of the pain, the
Thanks.
suffering, the loneliness, it's as if you forget about all that in an instant. And I think so, answering your first question, the most remarkable moment so far, or the most memorable, has been booking a show like that, because when I went in for the audition, I was completely just had given up on the industry, did not want to do this anymore. I just went in, did the audition. I didn't even know what I was auditioning for because they had a different name
Wow.
for the project. So I just went in, did the audition, left, went and got lunch, went back to work and forgot about it. The next day, my agent calls me, he's like, you booked Star Trek. And every single time I tell this story, I still get goosebumps because I just
Wow.
remember being
I
in the
I'm
got
getting
middle of
goosebumps.
the
goosebumps.
road. I was like crossing,
I'm
I
actually
was
getting
crossing the
goosebumps.
road in LA. I was crossing the road in LA and there were just cars everywhere. And like I was on the pedestrian crossing and I was screaming. Like I was screaming, and then I went to my car
I can
and I started crying, and
imagine.
I was like crying and laughing at the same time and like thanking God, and like then immediately calling my parents. They don't
Wow.
even know at the time like what was Star Trek. They were just happy because I
Oh
was
my gosh.
happy. So it was just
Oh,
an
that's
all around
so
like,
awesome.
I know. So that was the experience that I think I will always cherish and hold very close to my heart.
That is fantastic.
Priya, do you have another question for Ayushi?
I think I've given her two. I could bombard her all
Yeah.
night, but
But Ayushi, I'm gonna jump on there again, yet again, and I have to say I can hear the passion and the emotion about, this big win in Star Trek. How was it acting with the cast? Was it as exciting as you see it on television and behind the scenes?
It is very exciting. They are very supportive, and even though they've been doing this for longer than I have, when you're on set, everyone's equal and they treat it like that. No one is, smaller than the other person in terms of their achievements. Everyone's treated equally, and the cast is very, very supportive. they really helped me out a lot, actually, because the rest of the cast was not in prosthetics. I was in prosthetics, and I had been sitting in prosthetics for 12 hours at a time. So, and I had like a huge pregnant belly. So my co-star was really, really supportive, and she helped me out a lot. She, got water for me. She made sure I was comfortable. And she'd been on set longer than me, so she knew, like, who to reach out to should I need any help. So they were very supportive, and I just hope that I get an opportunity to work with them again.
And do you have a big fan club, a big Star Trek fan club in the USA? Or even
It's
across the
growing.
globe?
I'm happy to be like welcomed. So I think that like they really welcomed me into the community, and because the Star Trek, they have a family of fan base like across the world, and that one franchise brings them all together. And I'm just so glad that they liked me and that they've welcomed me with open arms, and like I've been able to speak to so many people across and connect with them. It's been the most warm welcome ever.
Okay. And if any of the USA producers are watching, is there anything specific that you kind of want to acting in the next year or two?
Anything in specific? I would love to tell more stories of South African people, of Indian people, more stories that I have seen I used to be a reporter, so I, have seen stories. I've reported about stories from the slums, and both in India and in South Africa. So I would love those stories to be told, and to be the actress telling those stories, or the producer. So would love for that to be part of our, of the television and film landscape, because right now we don't see enough stories about third world countries, and I think it's just such an important content that is needed. Like there's such a gap in our industry for that.
Yeah, and that could be a area you can possibly on, in the upcoming years. If you obviously partner with the right people, I'm sure you can share your ideas, and it could turn out to be an absolutely brilliant production. Ayushi, do you have any questions for the beautiful Priya, our deep end girl?
Yes, I do. So my first question is, I know how hard it is for us to balance as actors, for us to be able to, give our 100% to an audition, at the same time balance our home life. For you, I can only imagine it's that much more harder. How do you do it is my question, because I hear you speak about having a beauty company at the same time, being your starting your food company, but at the same time also being an actress and a mom and a housewife. I think my biggest question to you is, how do you do it all? But I do have one more question, so please answer this one, and I'll ask my next one.
Okay, sure. Well, like I said, I don't sleep as much as I ought to or would like to, except on a Sunday where I try not to get out of bed. But I don't know. I just do. I think it's because, very much like you, I push myself. I want to excel. I want to be the best at what I am doing. And that, I know it sounds really random. While it does stress me out, the stress actually is a great motivator. So I will, and I try to also focus in terms of, when I'm with my children, I am with my children. I'm 100% there, so that I know that it's a job well done. And then when I'm with a client, I'm with a client. And then at night, it's my downtime where I sit in front of my laptop and I work on my website, or I'm also still studying and upskilling, etc. And I do it simply because it comes from a place of, I really enjoy what I am doing. And when you enjoy what you're doing, you never work a day in your life, right?
Yeah.
Agree. Priya, I have to
true.
agree with you on that one. I have to agree with you on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I can also tell that you put your 100% into whatever you do, and I admire that greatly, because it takes one to know one. So I can tell you that I admire it greatly. I also want to know, where did you find your marvelous husband? As someone who is constantly pressured to get
marvelous
married,
husband.
I would love to know. I would love to know where
Brilliant question,
these marvelous husbands are.
So I'm going to tell you a very funny story, right? I had never intended to get married, and B, if I did get married, it was never going to be to an Indian man. It was just not a thing. I was like, not going to happen, and more so a Gujarati man. And I know it sounds horrible to say I am Gujarati, but I was like, no, not going to happen. I love my uncles dearly, and I love all my cousins dearly, all my male cousins, but I know what it's like to be married to a Gujarati man. So I was like, no, never going to happen. And my husband was actually introduced. My husband was actually introduced to me by a client of mine who was like, "Oh, I know this lovely boy, and he's Gujarati and he's just like you." And I'm like, no, I'm not interested." Um, but eventually I met him, and I was actually dating somebody else at the time. So my husband remained my friend he likes to tell everybody I made him wait for 2 years. Became my best friend for 2 years, and we did everything together.
Aww.
And when I split up with the boyfriend I was seeing, he was kind of like, "Well, it's now or never. I want to marry you. I've known since the third month of knowing you that I want to marry you, and will you marry me?" And I was like, "I don't know. What I feel, how I feel about Indian guys, etc., etc." But he has basically removed all of those ideas I've had because he is completely non-stereotypical, and I'm very
Does he
Wow.
blessed to
perhaps have
have,
any brothers for Ayushi? Does he perhaps have any brothers for
He does
Ayushi?
actually
Yeah.
have he does actually have a brother. I'm just saying, who is single. So I'm just putting it out there.
Oh, great.
Yay!
That's
But
I am more
Ayushi,
than
amazing.
I
happy.
have to
I'm more
say,
than matchmaker. You just send me a list of requirements, and I will be more than happy.
Oh, you're
but
so
Ayushi, I
sweet.
have
I'm
to
glad you shared
say,
that
I
story.
have to, I have to say that you've asked a very critical question, especially in this industry. It's so important that you have someone that supports your journey and supports what you do.
Hmm.
Especially, I can see Priya is nodding. I think especially with the long hours and the people that you meet, 80% of them are absolutely genuine, and you would get the 20% that obviously can make or break, but it's so important that you have someone that stands by you and just motivates you as well. So I think, Priya, after the call we'll do some sort of networking with brother-in-laws, and we'll look at Ayushi up, and we'll take it to a next level.
Absolutely,
Like, yeah, a typical
absolutely.
Indian thing.
Ah, that's
um
funny.
Ayushi, any other questions for Priya?
Priya, when you said you were acting in your 20s and then you got this, life-changing role at 38. So,
Mhm.
how tough was it did you give up in the middle? Did you feel like giving up? And, what was your journey like from your 20s to getting this role? Like, I just want to know where you were as an actor, like mentally, because, that's another world that we have to
Yeah,
tackle, is the mental space of an actor.
absolutely. Absolutely. So here's the thing, it's a very interesting story, which is why Deep End resonated with me as much as it did. I wanted to be an actress from the time I could remember. When I left school, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to go into the arts. I want to go into drama. And unfortunately, it was a different time back then. And, you were categorically told, I'm very sorry, that's not going to happen. You need to go and get an actual degree. You need to go and, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I never did that.
Mm.
I actually went to India and I studied beauty, which was completely bizarre. And I came back home at the age of 21. I started my own business. But I was always involved in the arts, always dancing, always in theater, always on stage productions. It was very difficult because the networking was not as great then. We didn't have, WhatsApp and, agents who were willing to represent, etc. So I never really fully pursued it. So it was a dream that remains dormant for 20 years, quite literally. I would get my little moments when I was on stage, but being in
Wow.
front of a camera was not something I could do. And that's why at the age of 38, to be able to actually start fulfilling and pursuing my dream, it's absolutely been phenomenal. And again, with regards to Deep End, that the whole idea is it's never too late. There's a time and place
Yeah.
for everything, and maybe my time was not in my 20s. My time is now. So
Oh, that
yeah,
just
so
gave me
that's been my
goosebumps.
journey.
Thank you for sharing that. No,
It's a
that's so
pleasure. It's a
inspiring because a
pleasure.
lot of people just give up and then never return to it. And I know,
Absolutely.
how scary it is to have a dormant dream. So I'm really happy you
Yeah.
shared that. That's very inspiring. And I'm so proud of you for
Thank
going
you.
back and doing it again. Yeah, I'm so happy that came
Thank you
along for
so
you.
much.
But
Thank you. I appreciate
Priya, I
that.
have to say that
Yes.
you looked very young to play the mom in Deep End. You could have actually played the sister. So don't let that
Thank you.
demotivate you that you only started at 38. I mean, come on, you
I
look extremely
appreciate it.
young and you still have youth. So I would probably see you another 20 years in this industry, to be honest. I
Thank
think
you
it's going to
very
go very
much.
well. All depends on the whole mummy homeschooling and how this is all going to span out ultimately, I would think.
Well, yeah, luckily I've got a hubby to help pick up the slack, which is fantastic. He's extremely supportive, so it really does help. I suspect that it's going to take off as soon as it can.
It is. So we just have a few more minutes, beautiful ladies, and I've got the
Hmm.
first question from Shireen Abraham from Johannesburg. She wants to know, how do you girls keep motivated under lockdown, and what advice do you have for the people around the globe? I'm going to start with you first, Priya.
Um, So keeping motivated can get really difficult, as Ayushi mentioned, trying to do auditions via, self-tapes and not being able to go out and actually do what you want to do, not being able to go out and be on stage or be in front of the camera, etc., can be really difficult. For me personally, I stay motivated by upskilling. So I'm doing a lot of master classes. I'm doing a lot of courses that I can get my hands on. I'm doing a lot of one-on-ones with my fellow actors so that we can improve our skills. And that helps me to stay motivated to understand that this is temporary. It really is just temporary, and we're going to come out of this bigger, better, and stronger, definitely. Yeah. And so the advice that I would
Thanks
give to
for
people
that.
out there, it's a pleasure. The advice that I would give to people out there is, don't sweat the small stuff. It can get really tough, and I say this from experience, where, especially for those who are not even doing a corporate job, you're kind of at home, and now all of a sudden you've been reduced to cooking and cleaning and picking up after your kids and trying to do everything that everybody needs, and take care of everyone, and you're left with nothing for yourself. And I'd say don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah, sure. So the sink has some dishes in it that you're gonna wash tomorrow. It's okay. Or
Agree.
the laundry basket is overflowing. It's okay, you'll get to it. You will get to it. For now, if you have a clean pair of clothes to wear, that's great. Don't sweat the small stuff. Just remember that you are at home, yes, and it's a pain, yes, but you are safe, you are warm, you are well cared for, you have a family around you, or you have people around you, and that's more than you need. How can I say this? Cherish the time. We're so wrapped up in our worlds
Oh,
and work
totally.
and corporates and all of that. We don't actually take a moment to cherish the time that we have with our kids or our husbands or our moms or our dads or whoever it is that you might be living with. And if you're living alone, just have a video call with a friend and actually chat, because we hardly ever do that anymore. And that's a great way to keep
Yeah,
going through every day.
yeah. Hence, I'm grateful for today's call. As the makeup after
Absolutely.
64 days lockdown, I got the
Yeah.
hair
Me
washed,
too.
set.
Me too.
Thank God. Ayushi, over to you on that question.
I think I agree with Priya completely that this time is temporary. And I am telling you right now that things are moving back to normal. And you will, if you haven't made the best of quarantine, please cherish this time and fill your calendar with classes that you can do online. If you're an actor, there are lots of acting classes that you can still do over Zoom. If you have always wanted to do something else, I think right now is the best time to really indulge in those classes online and try to get better at what it is that you'd always wanted to do, whether it's learning a new language or whether it's doing meditation or whether it's getting Katrina Kaif abs. That was something I was obsessed with at the beginning of quarantine. Is I was just constantly doing so many fitness classes. And I really did try to fill my calendar, my week up with as many skills that I can learn online. And it really keeps you going because then you have a schedule and then you're locked into this new schedule and you do feel productive. And even just with for your mental health, it's so great. And I'm telling you, things are moving back to normal. I mean, I live in LA and I can already tell that, I've been asked to come back to work. I am going to be shooting something very soon on set. Of
Awesome.
course, in the new like normal, we do have to follow all the precautions and wear the masks and be 6 feet apart. So there's still that, that element of coronavirus is still in the air. So, but at the same time, cherish this quarantine, cherish this lockdown, because there's a lot you can learn. And when you come out of it, you'll just be stronger and better at everything.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the question from Shireen. I hope we answered that, and it's going to help her to move forward. We have time for one more question, and this one comes from Manoja Sigichela. It's for Ayushi. Thank you for joining us, and kindly share your advice to the girls who are keen on pursuing acting as a career.
My greatest advice to young girls who would like to pursue acting is to firstly enroll yourself in a good acting school. And for me, it was New York Film Academy in LA, but I know there are many acting schools in South Africa. Even if it's doing it online, I think the more you immerse yourself in the craft, the better you'll get at it, and the more confidence you'll get from it. And also, it might help you realize if that is something you really want to do or not. Some people do acting classes and, read those plays and, try to act, but then they realize they don't want to do it. So, and that's okay too. So I think the only way you'll know if that's something you're truly passionate about is if you actually immerse yourself in it 100%. So read plays and take acting classes and reenact your favorite scenes from movies if you want to do that, or learn the dialogues from plays and or films or scripts and do it every single day and see if that's something that you're willing to commit to, because the greatest way you will succeed in this industry is through commitment and hard work and discipline.
Absolutely agree. Ayushi, I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but another question comes from Vikram. What is the name of the Telugu movie that you acted in which is yet to release?
It's called 919. Yeah.
919.
It's called 919, and I'm very excited to share it with you guys.
Okay, I think we have one more question. We're going to take one more question. Okay. Oh, another request, Ayushi. You're the favorite today. We're going to get to Priya just now as well. We want dialogue, a one-liner in Telugu. Any liner,
okay, sure.
and just translate for us.
Okay. Vicky, ఏం చేస్తున్నావు ఇక్కడ?
And what does that mean? Ayushi, what does that mean?
It means, Vicky, what are you doing here?
I love that.
I like
that sounded so natural.
That's very South Indian, I have to say. That's very South Indian. Priya,
Thank you.
Priya, do you speak any other languages?
Well, obviously, mostly English. I used to be fluent in Hindi because I studied in India for a year. But now I'm really not that great. I understand Hindi and Gujarati. I can read Hindi, and I speak Afrikaans, as we all mostly do in South Africa. But I'm not fluent in anything other than English, so I'm not going to even attempt it.
Okay, because it's also give us a one-liner. I'm not sure if you want to attempt something very similar. Maybe you can also just give us a one-liner.
Oh goodness, no. Honestly, my brain has gone like completely blank. Every single thought has flown out of my head. I won't lie.
Do you want to maybe give us a line from Deep End in English with a little bit of expression?
There are no regrets in life, Sunita. Only choices. You make your choices and you live with them. That's it.
Wow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is beautiful. That was really, really nice.
Thank you.
So, ladies, I have to say we're running out of time. I want to firstly thank the South African Telugu community for getting us here today. It gave me a chance to dress up after 64 days. Again, I want to emphasize on that. It was really, really nice speaking to Ayushi and Priya. I think the message across today was absolutely phenomenal, especially if young girls are watching. I could sense your journeys. I could sense the place it's coming from, and also how your families actually have supported you through all of this. And I think, in this day and age, that's what we actually lack from a community perspective. Any shout outs before we go for you ladies? Anyone in particular you want to send a shout out to, Priya?
I actually firstly just want to again thank you and the Telugu community for giving us this opportunity, for giving me this opportunity. It has been phenomenal, and I'm glad to be able to reach anyone out there who's listening. A shout out to everyone. Keep strong, keep safe, keep warm. If you're in a warm country, yay. But remember, this is all just temporary, and take a moment to just listen to your own self and listen to your inner being and come out stronger at the end.
Well said. Ayushi, any special shout outs except not to Priya's brother-in-law. We'll get to that after.
Yes,
I
that
think
was
just
going to be my
everyone
shout
that's
out.
obviously watching.
My biggest shout out is to my mother who is watching right now, and every now and then she'll tell me what to say. So, Mom, I hope I made you proud. Love you. And thank you.
That's
Thank
sweet.
you, Priya. You guys were so nice to speak to, and this is such a perfect start to my morning. Thank you.
Well, I think, also all the viewers for tuning in today and supporting this chit chat. Once again to the SA Telugu community, to Lutchman, Vikram, and the rest of the team that worked the whole week to get this together. It's been amazing working with everyone. I think the chat in between was just so motivating as well. As much as we do have, other responsibilities, it was really so nice and, something I look forward to this week. Talking to two pretty girls, a little bit nervous, but the advice has just been, absolutely phenomenal yet again. And just wishing you both all of the best. We're going to look out for upcoming features. Priya, I will definitely pop by the beauty salon once it's up and running. We can keep in touch. And Ayushi, we look forward to seeing you on the USA big screen. But thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
Thank you so much, Keshni.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Hi, it's me, Madhavi Lata. Please subscribe to GNN TV.